Do you struggle with studying for hours and still feel tired? Or maybe you find it hard to remember everything you read. Want to know how to stay calm and learn faster? Well, this video has all the answers you've been looking for. So, take a deep breath, relax, and let's dive in. Inshallah, by the end of this, you'll feel more confident and equipped to study smarter, not harder. Meet Hamza, a hard-working student. But lately, he's drowning in stress. Exams are coming up, and no matter how much he studies, he feels like he forgets everything. Sound familiar? His heartbeat gets louder as he imagines an exam hall, staring at his paper, but his mind is completely blank. His mom knocks on the door, reminding him to sleep. He hesitates, but sighs.
Put your trust in Allah, son. He sees your hard work. Just do your best.
He forces a smile, but inside, he's still overwhelmed. The problem: why do students forget what they study? Hamza's problem isn't unique. A lot of students go through the same thing. You study, you revise, but when the exam starts, your mind goes blank. Why does this happen? The biggest mistake a lot of students make is reading their notes over and over again. That's called passive learning. It feels like studying, but in reality, it doesn't actually help you remember anything when it matters the most. The solution? Study smarter, not harder. Number 1. Active recall, the best study hack. Hamza's friend shares a trick. Cover the book and try to remember the answer. Instead of reading over and over, test yourself. Cover your notes and see if you can recall them from memory. If you can't, you haven't really learned it. Think of it like learning to ride a bike. You can watch videos or read about it, but until you actually get on the bike and practice, you won't really learn. Active recall works the same way. By testing yourself, you train your brain to actually remember, rather than just recognize words on a page. Number 2. Simulating the exam pressure. Hamza had always studied in his comfy room with no distractions, but when the exam day came, he felt overwhelmed by the ticking clock. His friend Ali suggested a new approach. Try simulating the exam conditions while you study, set a timer, and write your answers in the same time frame as the actual exam. It'll help you get used to the pressure. Hamza wasn't sure, but he gave it a shot. He set a timer for 45 minutes, just like the exam, and started answering practice questions. At first, he was stressed, and his hand felt shaky, but he kept practicing. Over time, he got better at managing the time and recalling answers quickly. On exam day, when he saw the timer ticking down, he didn't panic. Instead, his brain was used to working under pressure, and he answered the questions confidently. A lot of students study in a relaxed setting and then panic in the actual exam. Practicing under pressure trains your brain to recall information faster. This lowers exam anxiety. By simulating the real exam, Hamza trained his mind to stay calm and focused when it counted most. Number 3. This is one of the most genius ways to study: mind mapping for visual learning. Hamza had always struggled with remembering the details of long chapters. It was hard to see how everything connected, and sometimes it felt like all the information was a jumbled mess. One day, his friend Ali suggested something new. Try mind mapping. Draw a diagram that links all the ideas together. You'll see how they connect, and it'll be easier to remember. At first, Hamza wasn't sure how to start, but Ali showed him how to do it. He started with a main topic in the center, then branched out with subtopics, and added smaller details connected to each one. As Hamza worked, he saw the relationships between different ideas, and everything started to make sense. For example, when studying biology, Hamza drew a mind map for the chapter on plants. In the center, he wrote plants, and from there, he created branches for different parts: roots, stems, leaves, photosynthesis, and so on. He even added small pictures of each part to help visualize the information better. By the time he finished, he had a colorful, easy-to-read map of the whole chapter. Mind maps force your brain to connect ideas visually. This activates both sides of the brain, making it easier to remember complex information. If a topic feels confusing, turn it into a picture or a diagram. 4. Teaching to learn. Ever wondered how teachers in our schools and colleges know every detail of a chapter inside out? How do they remember everything so well? Let's unveil the truth. Hamza was studying for his math exam, but there was one topic he just couldn't seem to grasp: fractions. He had gone over it again and again, but it still didn't click. His younger brother, Yusuf, came into the room looking for help with his homework. Hamza saw this as a chance to try something different. "All right, Yusuf, let me teach you how to add fractions." At first, Hamza struggled to explain it simply. But as he broke down each step, finding a common denominator, adding the numerators, he realized something. By teaching Yusuf, he had to organize and simplify the steps in his own mind. He could feel his brain working harder to make sense of the topic. As he explained each part to Yusuf, it started to click for Hamza too. By the time he finished explaining, Hamza realized he understood the topic way better than before. Teaching forced him to process the information deeply and find a way to simplify it for someone else. When you teach something, your brain has to simplify and organize the information. This forces you to truly understand it. The more you teach, the better you learn. Hamza found that explaining tough topics to others not only helped them, but also helped him remember and understand the material more clearly. Number 5. Beating the forgetting curve. Hamza was excited after his first study session. He had learned a lot about the topic, but when he checked his notes a week later, most of it was gone. He had forgotten almost everything. On the other side of the screen, Hamza had used a different strategy. After studying the same material on day 1, he reviewed it the next day, then again on day 3, and finally on day 7. At first, Hamza felt like he was just repeating what he already knew. But by spacing out his reviews, something started to change. Each time he reviewed, it became easier to remember the details. The information stuck longer because he kept reinforcing it at the right times. The forgetting curve shows that we forget most of what we learn unless we review it properly. The secret: spaced repetition. Review what you learn at increasing intervals. 1 day later, then 3 days later, then a week later. This strengthens your memory. By following this method, Hamza found that he could remember more and worry less. The constant reviewing helped his brain strengthen the connections, making it easier to recall the material for his exam. Okay, so those were some scientific ways to study, but now let's look at things from an Islamic perspective. Trusting Allah in times of stress. Hamza was feeling the pressure. His exams were just around the corner, and the weight of it all was starting to get to him. One evening, after a long study session, Hamza decided to visit the masjid to calm his nerves. He sat quietly, raised his hands, and made dua, asking Allah for ease in his exams. As he sat there, a sense of calm washed over him. He reminded himself that while he could work hard and study, the outcome was ultimately in Allah's hands. He recalled the words of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, "Tie your camel and then trust in Allah." This meant that he needed to do his best, study, prepare, and give his all. But the results? That was Allah's plan. Hamza took comfort in that and knew that his effort was what mattered most, not just the grade on the paper. Before we dive into the final exam day, let's look at some extra study tips that can really give your brain a boost. Number 6. The Pomodoro technique. Study without getting tired. Hamza was getting exhausted from studying for hours without a break. His focus was slipping, and he wasn't retaining as much. That's when his friend Ali suggested the Pomodoro technique. Set a timer for 25 minutes, study with full focus, then take a 5-minute break, Ali explained. Hamza gave it a try. He set the timer and focused hard on his notes for 25 minutes. When the timer went off, he took a quick break, stretching, drinking water, and resetting his brain. After a few rounds, Hamza noticed he was studying much more efficiently. Short, focused study sessions kept his brain sharp and fresh. Short, focused study sessions keep your brain sharp. The Pomodoro technique helps you avoid burnout and stay fresh. Number 7. Mnemonics and funny tricks to remember hard stuff. Some topics were harder for Hamza to remember than others. When he struggled with a tough history date, his sister suggested using mnemonics. "Why not turn the date into a silly story or a joke?" she asked. Hamza thought about it for a moment and came up with a funny story about the date. By linking the fact to something silly, he found it easier to recall. It made the information more fun and memorable. Your brain loves stories. The weirder and funnier, the better. If you struggle to remember something, turn it into a silly phrase or a joke. Number 8. Moving while studying helps memory. One day, Hamza noticed that he could remember his notes better when he walked around. He started pacing while reviewing his notes, and it helped him focus. When he needed to memorize verses of a chapter, he would even act them out, moving his hands and walking around the room. Studies show that movement actually helps with memory, so Hamza kept this habit. He found that when he moved while studying, he could recall information faster and easier. Studies show movement helps with memory. Walk, gesture, or even act out your notes. If you've ever paced around while memorizing something, you've already experienced this effect. The final exam day, the real test. The day of the exam finally arrived. Hamza woke up early, prayed Fajr, and recited a dua, asking Allah for success in his studies. Rabbi ashrah li sadri, wa yassir li amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani, yafqahu qawli. He felt at peace, knowing he had prepared as best as he could. The Prophet ﷺ encouraged us to start our day with prayer and dua. It brings peace and focus. As Hamza sat in the exam hall, he felt a bit nervous. But then, he took a deep breath, recalled the study techniques he had practiced, and reminded himself to trust his preparation. He looked at the first question, visualized the mind map he had created during his study sessions, and confidently began writing down his answer. In the exam hall, don't panic. Breathe, recall your study techniques, and trust your preparation. You've got this. Hamza's confidence came from both his effort and his trust in Allah, knowing that success isn't just about what happens on the exam, but about doing your best and having faith. Remember, success isn't just about grades. It's about putting in the effort, having faith in Allah's plan, and trusting the process. No matter what challenges you face, always keep going and trust that Allah is with you every step of the way. Hamza walked out of the exam hall, feeling calm and confident, ready to face whatever came next. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope these study tips and Islamic reminders help you feel more confident and focused in your own journey. Whether it's exams or any other challenge in life, remember to always put in the effort, trust your preparation, and leave the rest to Allah. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. May Allah make things easy for all of you, and may success come with every effort you put in. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Ameen.